Today, we're digging into a feeling that's become, well, pretty much universal. The sense that our ability to just sit down and focus is slipping through our fingers. We're going from what we used to call brain fog to something new, a phenomenon some are calling brain rot. We're going to explore what that really means and the science behind why our digital world might be fundamentally changing our minds.
So, does this feel familiar? You sit down to read a book, and your hand just automatically reaches for your phone. Or you try to watch a movie, but you're also scrolling through a social feed at the same time. If you feel like your concentration has been shattered into a million tiny pieces, I promise you, you are not alone. But here's the thing, this isn't just a feeling, it's actually measurable.
Okay, here it is. 8.25 seconds. According to the latest research, that is the average amount of time a human being can stay focused on one single thing before our brain starts to wander off or look for something new. I mean, that is shockingly short, right? But what's even crazier is how that number stacks up against another creature.
So what does that number actually mean? Well, it means we've officially been outfocused by a goldfish. No, I'm not kidding. The average goldfish can hold a thought for about 9 seconds. So the next time you're feeling distracted, just remember that a fish in a bowl might just have more mental stamina than we do right now.
This brings us right into our first section, our shrinking attention spans. Because this decline, it isn't just a vague feeling we all have, it's a measurable trend that scientists have been tracking for over 20 years.
Just think about this for a second. Back in the year 2000, before a smartphone was basically attached to every single person, our average attention span was a pretty respectable 12 seconds. Fast forward to 2013, and it had plummeted to just 8 seconds. Now, we've seen a tiny little tick back up recently, but the overall picture is crystal clear. Our digital lives have fundamentally rewired our ability to sustain focus.
And this loss of focus usually shows up as something many of us know all too well: brain fog. It's that frustrating mental cloudiness, right? And it's really important to get that this isn't just about being tired. Brain fog is that persistent, sluggish thinking that even a great night's sleep just can't seem to shake.
Do any of these sound familiar? You're struggling to juggle tasks. You're constantly forgetting why you walked into a room. You feel mentally drained even when you've rested, or it just feels like problems take forever to solve. These are the classic calling cards of brain fog and a direct result of our overstimulated minds.
So, why is this happening? That brings us to Section 2, the battle for your brain. Because none of this is happening by accident. There is a massive global industry built specifically to capture your focus, because your attention has become the most valuable commodity on Earth.
Welcome to what's called the attention economy. In this system, your attention is the currency. It's a limited resource, right? You only have so many hours in a day and only so much mental energy to go around. And every single second you spend looking at a screen can be turned into money through ads, data collection, you name it. That makes your focus incredibly valuable.
And because your attention is so valuable, the digital world is not a neutral space. Every single feed, every recommendation, every notification is powered by algorithms. And these aren't just simple little programs. They are incredibly sophisticated systems designed with one main goal: to figure out what will keep you engaged for one more second, one more minute, one more hour.
This system creates a huge imbalance that researchers call attention inequality. What that means is that a tiny fraction of online websites and apps, just 5%, manages to capture a staggering 80% of all of our collective attention. The algorithms just keep rewarding what's already popular, creating this feedback loop where a few big winners get all the focus while everything else just gets drowned out.
Let's move on to Section 3, running on cognitive overload. So how does this constant battle for our attention actually affect the hardware inside our skulls? Well, the truth is, our brains are really struggling to keep up with it all.
The key idea here is something called cognitive load. Think of your working memory, the part of your brain that's juggling information right now, as a computer's RAM. It only has a limited capacity. Cognitive load is simply the total amount of that RAM you're using at any given moment.
So cognitive scientists break this load down into 3 types. First, there's intrinsic load. That's just how hard the task itself is. Simple enough. Second is extraneous load, and this one is crucial. It's all the mental effort wasted on navigating distractions. Finally, there's germane load. That's the good stuff, the mental work that actually builds long-term memories and understanding. That's real learning.
And this is where it all connects. Every single pop-up notification, every time you switch between tabs, every distracting ad, all of it piles on the extraneous load. It clogs up your working memory with junk, leaving little to no room for that important germane load.
the deep thinking we need to actually learn anything. So we arrive at Section 4, a new diagnosis. This constant state of cognitive overload has led to a new, kind of blunt, informal term to describe this feeling. It's an evocative name for a very modern condition.
Meet brain rot. It's not just some internet slang. It was actually named Oxford's Word of the Year for 2024. And it perfectly captures that feeling of mental decay you get from endlessly scrolling through trivial, low-quality content. It's the sense that our brains are being filled with digital junk food, leaving us completely intellectually malnourished.
And brain rot is tied to a whole list of negative digital behaviors and psychological effects. We're talking about doom scrolling through endless bad news, zombie scrolling with absolutely no purpose, and of course, full-blown social media addiction. The fallout can be serious, from becoming numb to shocking content, to developing a really negative view of yourself.
But this isn't just about online slang. Researchers are beginning to use a much more serious-sounding term for a similar set of symptoms they're seeing, especially in younger generations. They're calling it digital dementia.
And that brings us to our final and maybe our most alarming section, the dementia time bomb. Scientists are now asking a terrifying question. Could our current digital habits be setting up an entire generation for a future cognitive crisis? This quote comes directly from a paper in the Journal of Integrative Neuroscience, and the hypothesis is stark, that for Gen Z and Gen Alpha who have been saturated with screens during their brain's most critical periods of development, the result could be significantly higher rates of early-onset dementia when they get older. To really understand the potential scale of this, just look at these two projections. The CDC, using older, pre-internet data, projects that dementia rates will roughly double by the year 2100, mostly due to an aging population. But the digital dementia hypothesis, which factors in our new screen habits, predicts a 4- to 6-fold increase. It suggests we could be facing a cognitive health crisis that is far, far larger than anything we've prepared for.
So, at the end of the day, we've explored the decline in our attention, the economy that's driving it, and the cognitive science that explains it. And it all leads to one final, really urgent question. Are the trivial moments we spend scrolling today adding up to a massive collective cognitive crisis tomorrow? It's a question we really can't afford to ignore anymore.